Today's episode is all about the power of arts, culture, and heritage in forming meaningful connections. And to dive into that, we have two amazing guests, Yinsey and Katie, who are the co-founders of Muses in the City. Welcome to the podcast. Can you give us a quick intro to yourselves?
Hi, I'm Yinsey Wang and I am a lawyer, but my side hustles include costuming as well as photography, anything artistic that I can get my hands on. And I co-founded Muses in the City with 8 other amazing women. There are 9 of us, and hence why we're Muses, including Katie right here. And the circle essentially looks to bring women together to enjoy artistic experiences, try something new, get really intertwined with heritage as well as history, and also have discussion circles, networking, and really find a way to get a community going where people can help each other out and lean on each other.
Hi, I'm Katie and I'm an audiobook narrator. I'm also writing a book and I love doing painting. And recently I've had the pleasure of meeting Yinsey and being involved with Muses in the City, which is full of lots of creative people and that sort of creative expression, which I have sought my whole life. And yeah, that is why I am here.
So, guys, we actually met at the V&A and you were doing a Taylor Swift themed Muses event, and it was amazing, especially for me because I felt like it was such a serendipitous moment because I was talking to Senna about how I had been going up the corporate ladder and I really wanted more creative friends and I just didn't have that. When I bumped into you guys, these stunning, amazing, beautiful women, all dressed up in a row in front of this incredible painting. It was just so inspirational. And yeah, I'd love to hear more about your story as well. And we wanted to learn more about your outfits because I think, Yinsey, did you create your outfit?
Yes, so I love a bit of costuming and I love museum spaces. And they were doing the Taylor Swift era songbook exhibition at the V&A. So I was like, hey, ladies, let's all dress up as different eras and then, head to the V&A. And it was just incredible just seeing people get together and being united by our love of Swift.
Yeah.
And essentially, it was just wonderful running into you both. It did feel very serendipitous. And then you lined us up. Serenity, you're such an amazing photographer. And we had Senna with the camera ready. You lined us up.
Creator.
And we ended up
Choreography.
amazing.
Yeah.
And I just loved that energy. And I think there's something magical when women come together around things that they really enjoy and just expressing girl joy in public spaces.
Yeah.
It's wonderful, especially when you're surrounded by other arts, other cultures, and other diverse perspectives. And I think that's what Muses in the City is about. It's just that kind of celebration and coming together of people who just love the same thing. And you were saying that point about corporate life. I think there's so much to each and every one of us that we sometimes forget. We allow certain things to define us, whether it's society, the routes that we've taken in our careers. And we have to remember there's so many other things that make us uniquely us. And I think it was just wonderful, like whether it's love of a particular artist or a love of particular music, everyone has their own interpretation. And it was great seeing everyone dress up. So,
I think a really important question is what era were you both? Because we're big Taylor Swift fans, I'm sure. everyone's curious.
Absolutely. So for me, and I actually made her Green Era's folklore dress, I think because it just combines all those mystical aesthetics and childhood and girlhood. And I think that was something I was craving. And actually, it's the perfect soundtrack to why I wanted to create something like Muses.
I love
Beautiful.
that. Yeah, it was beautiful. I was Speak Now. So I had the purple kind of sparkly dress, which is actually a couple of pounds from Vinted. I think that I wore it to a ball. So yeah, I repurposed that, curled my hair. And I did used to listen to Speak Now quite a lot when I was in my teen years. So it was a really nice return to that and remembering that princessy time of life in your childhood.
Yeah. So your outfit was beautiful, both
A lot of women with push to grow up quite early. And it's just so fantastic to lean into things like girl joy and being able to feel nostalgic for things.
I'm not worrying about how it might look. I think there's something really powerful about us being a group. And you could think, oh, it's a bit strange dressing up and going somewhere.
Yeah.
But it was actually a really lovely energy. Like there was even one of the staff members there, and he saw us and he went, "Oh, this has made my week. This is great." And he asked for a photo with us. So it's actually really lovely when you see the joy that it brings other people.
Yeah,
So it doesn't matter if it looks a bit out there.
That's so sweet. I love that. So Yinsey and Katie, tell us the story behind Muses in the City. What inspired you to create the communities? How did it hit the ground running?
So I think for me, I am a city lawyer, and a lot of networking events are very centered around drinking. And I'm teetotal, so that does not help. And I felt like there would be such an amazing opportunity in London to meet people in a different way. And on top of that, I think for me, I'm such a creative soul, and I want to be able to find other creative souls to mingle with, experience things with. And last but not least, I think it's a really important thing for the city because women are becoming more and more powerful. And they have so many skills and so many amazing things to give to the city. And if we don't protect the city's heritage, if we don't have that buy-in that kind of preserves what's important about our shared heritage, our communities, beautiful buildings, wonderful neighborhoods, well, we're going to lose it, right? So I think what's important is having that connection with our public spaces. And I feel like this is a really wonderful way to open up that sort of access to women. And a lot of people who came to our events, some of them hadn't visited certain galleries or museums before. And it was just nice to be like, you're okay. It's going to be not as intimidating as you think.
And I think you were seeing a gap when
Yeah.
that wasn't a thing in place. So you were thinking about, how can I fill that gap?
Yeah.
How can I create something that will give that space for people? So I think it was in your mind for quite a while.
Yeah. So I think that the seeds were planted because I'm so passionate about heritage. And one of the things that I do is that I'm on the advisory council for the British Museum Friends, and essentially work with the British Museum thinking about how to help the members who are people who subscribe to the non-permanent exhibitions. And it's just a really wonderful way to tap into the curators and tap into the arts and culture heritage space. And a lot of people don't see that. And a lot of people don't necessarily have a relationship with these beautiful spaces. So I wanted to also create that bridge, if that makes sense, in an easy and accessible way. And you never know how far it will go in relation to that, who will meet and then suddenly create together or find opportunities to do something together. So that was my idea and my desire that I have managed to fulfill. And it's just so exciting because we've just reached over 100 members.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's amazing. Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I love that because it really does blend the idea of community and culture and creativity all together. Have you got any examples of how you've seen it help people's personal growth or their relationships by joining these services?
Yeah, I find that it's helped me grow because I've learned to put myself out there and just approach women that I think would love to be part of the Muses. And I think what's been wonderful is just building those connections has allowed me to see how I can tap into my ability to see something there in terms of what people could offer and what people can be offered. So an example is organising a panel talk on women and heritage and getting women to come and speak about their roles in preserving heritage. And it was just so wonderful because it just gave these incredible women a chance to showcase their skills and their talents and the work that they do being so valuable. On top of it, I think it's just made all of us a bit more innovative in terms of sharing ideas and thinking out of the box to bring people together.
Definitely. I think there's a momentum to it. You feel it with each event that we've done. I remember with the sketching one that we did at Natural Portrait Gallery.
We went to that one.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I heard
Yeah.
someone say, I've never had a chance to go here and to do this. So
Yeah.
I never do this by myself. I've done this with a group. And so I've seen like, okay, they've got something from that. And then I heard someone else say, I want to come to museums and do this more often. You know, I've never thought of it.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was us.
Yeah. I think there is that feeling that I've sensed from everybody, or I've heard little things just after the events where you go, oh, people are really craving this, and this sort of sense of connection and opportunity to do that in an environment that is welcoming and not too high stakes.
Yeah.
I agree. And that's so well said. And sorry to segue this a bit, but Katie is an amazing artist. And when she was there, she was like giving tips to people. So it's just seeing that growth in terms of people showing others kindness, compassion, and also helping them on their journey.
Yeah.
Because Muses is for everyone who's just passionate or wants to learn a bit about everything. And what really makes us Muses is we're curious and we're willing to become creators as well.
Yeah.
So I think that that was just really wonderful.
And just one thing that I wanted to mention when we did go to the sketching event was that a really nice, thoughtful touch was you guys handed out the postcards and we had to all write a note for someone else to receive. And that's just such a special thing for someone to pick up and go, oh, wow, like, this is great. Okay, I'm going to join this group because they've been so thoughtful.
I love that feeling. It's like a
Yeah.
golden ticket moment.
Yes,
You know, it's
exactly.
like you're chosen. You can go and join.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think handwritten things, it's going out of fashion, really. So
Exactly.
it's so lovely to be able to make that a part of what we're doing. We're preserving old ways of doing things.
Yeah, that's so true.
It's lovely. And that's the thing. I remember listening to an amazing, I think it was an interview, or maybe it was from her audiobook, but Michelle Obama was talking about how I think it was knitting that really grounds her. Just having that sort of ability to create something with your hands, whether it's to write a lovely note or whether it's to sketch, because so much of our lives is in the digital space. It almost feels,
There's something tangible.
yes,
Yeah.
about it being in the physical space. And so it's been really lovely just leaving postcards around the city. And someone picked one up and then joined the Muses from the sketching
No
event.
way.
Yeah, so she's in the WhatsApp group, which is amazing. So,
Yeah. See, it worked.
Yeah.
Love it. So obviously London has an incredible culture scene. We're so lucky to live here. And I feel like not everyone actually gets to fully experience it, maybe the way that we do. And it'd be nice to know how you feel like cultural spaces like galleries, museums, theatres, and those types of settings bring people together on a deeper level.
I think it's really fascinating because there's a recent Guardian article about a study that had been conducted, and apparently engagement with arts and culture can actually improve well-being outcomes. So it's actually good for your health, apparently. So it's really fascinating. And I think just generally speaking, there's that powerful lure of museums and galleries. It touches upon that tangible point that you were mentioning earlier. It's that tangible space. It's about being in the present. I think also it's the fact that so many people have been in that space before.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at a piece of archaeology or you're looking at a painting or you're hearing some words, you're going through and connecting with someone through time and through space.
Yeah.
And I think it's just incredible. For example, I've been very lucky to hold certain archaeological objects that would have been held by someone like thousands of years ago. And you just think, wow, what I love about museums and what I love about galleries and what I love about creativity is that we're all so unique and every single person has interacted with this space that we know as Earth, and where you can have a remnant of that, whether living or dead. I think that's what really strikes me as so powerful, that people create and there's a purpose behind that creation, and there might even be an expression behind that creation, and it's speaking to someone.
And it's a pooling point of all of those things. It's a space where you have all of those multiple different time periods, and they're coming together and they're being displayed next to each other. Or you walk from one room and you're in one century, and you walk to another room and you see another century. So it's really seeing these different eras side by side and being able to see this chronology of creativity over time, and being able to celebrate it and have a space to say, this is important. We're celebrating these people and these times that have been in the past, and we can learn from it now.
100%.
And it's a way of lots of people being able to celebrate that together.
So you're clearly both really passionate about Muses in the City and have a deep love for culture. So I do have to ask, do you have a favourite experience that you've had so far or event that you've hosted?
I think for me, it's got to be that sketching at the National Portrait Gallery, seeing everybody sitting around with their paper and charcoal and pencils out. There was just this sort of quiet understanding of everybody just picking a painting and drawing it. And we had a lovely chat. It was just very chilled, and we were going into this creative space. And I think something that I love is when I'm creating, I'm very much in this zone of I'm relaxed and I'm thinking about what I'm doing. But I've never really done that in a shared space apart from when it was much more school focused. This was like by choice. There's some people just coming here just because,
Yeah.
and beginning to just draw these paintings out. And I was like, oh, they're all just sharing in the creative process with me. And that was really nice for me to just think, oh, yeah, we've really done something nice here.
That really resonates with me because I think so much of our society is driven by productivity and doing things and having a result. And I just really loved that we were just doing it because we enjoyed it.
Yeah.
That's definitely a close second. But my favorite was when we did the Women in Heritage panels. So we had some incredible heritage specialists, Sarah Perry, Lisa Randizzi, who's another muse, and also Grace Vilma. And they talked about the work that they're doing in terms of retaining women's histories and also themselves as women working in those spaces. What was really powerful about that was just hearing these stories about these incredible women that I didn't know about, but were audacious enough to stick the middle finger up to power. So I learned about Ethel Smythe. I don't know.
Smart. And
Yes.
conducting, she was in jail.
Yes.
She's got a toothbrush. She's looking out a window. She's conducting her own symphony with a toothbrush.
Yes.
That's amazing. Wow.
I remember that image. It's
Yeah,
just stuck in
it
my
was
mind.
such a great description. And
Yeah.
she was actually the composer of the suffragette anthem. And that was the music she was conducting.
Yeah.
And she had actually been jailed because of suffragette activity.
No.
So isn't that so powerful? And I think a lot of composers that we hear today are very much men. And apparently there's a lot less funding for the music composed by women. So it was just a really eye-opening session.
Yeah.
And it really resonated with me because when I'm thinking about history, when I'm thinking about heritage, I always think about that quote by Winston Churchill, that history is written by the victors. And I think women, we are starting to win and we are starting to rise. Let's take back some of that history and let's tell some of our stories too.
Yes, 100%. I love that. That's so magical to hear. And like you said, so powerful. And when we do things that we want to do and we do want that power back, you feel something else inside. And it's
I particularly felt it. Megan did her opening.
Yes.
And Miriam's closing speech as well, but talking about how when you're younger, feeling like you can't necessarily have multiple different things that you're doing. You've got to focus, you've got to narrow your focus, and that it's not okay to do all these different side things. Otherwise, you won't be successful. I think it's that celebration of realizing that you can do multiple things and be successful at that. And it can be a positive, and seeing that you're not alone in that and that there are other people doing a similar thing. That sort of sense of community that's come to me. I think that was a really nice moment.
Yeah. Talking about community, it's such a hot topic at the moment. Why do you feel like community is so important in 2025?
So for me personally, I think 2025 is a very stressful year in terms of what's happening in the world. And I think that there's a lot of polarization. And I think sometimes it's just nice to have a group environment where you can lean on each other and not feel so alone and be able to lean into joy in very challenging times. I think also there's power in community. You don't feel like you are so unable to affect the environment around you. Because even if you just meet one person and you connect, you can create so much from that one friendship. And this is evidence of that.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
have
it really
met through a
is.
community event. More people got drawn into that community, and now you're creating a community through your podcast. It's just wild because we all just trigger thoughts in each other and we impact each other.
Exactly. And I think there's so much importance, especially nowadays with the digital scene.
Yeah.
I was watching a video literally the other day where somebody had used AI to edit something into the background, and she was like, is this AI or is it real? And it was literally impossible to tell. And I think having, obviously digital communities can really have their own things, but having real interactions and going to these kinds of spaces and being able to share in these things in a very real, tangible way is so important for something that gradually could be altered in time. And I think it's now more than ever finding those spaces to be able to connect. And also, I think it's really important to be able to find what I would call your people. You know, it's like, oh, I'm not the only one who does that. Well, you're interested in that. Okay. And it's so validating for your own hobbies and your sense of character and who you gravitate towards. It shows you, oh, this is something that makes me fully come alive. And it gives you the space and the permission to do that. And I think it's so important to be able to find that. Yeah.
I think that's something that we feel as well, being able to find someone that shares an interest with you can drive you more, because I think Serena and I, we both wanted to start a podcast separately. And having that shared interest, it's just actually driven us both independently, and we've come together and we've created something amazing together that we wouldn't necessarily have done ourselves.
Like, we talked about it and we were like, we probably wouldn't do it on our own. Just being surrounded by like-minded people is so important, because then you know you're not alone, like you said. And also, I feel like ever since we've found this shared passion, it's actually inspired us to do more. And
it's an amplifier.
Yeah, it really
we
is.
keep coming up with new ideas.
Yeah.
Like, we can't be stopped now.
It's amazing, especially to have someone to share that with. So I agree. I think community is just unbelievable.
Absolutely. And just on that point as well, what I love, you mentioned like-minded, but I also think, I know this sounds very spiritual and woo-woo, but the idea that you feel like you're around people with this sort of same soul, but you're just in different fonts. And that's the thing, because what I love about Muses is that some of us are lawyers, some of us are just pure artists, some of us are writers.
But there are so many overlaps.
Yeah, there are so many overlaps, and all those different perspectives are great. And what I really hope is that eventually, as we grow and eventually as these relationships form, we can help each other too. Like, for example, I really want to be a trustee of a museum one day. So knowing some artists and archaeologists, that's really useful. So being able to
You're just using them.
Maybe. No, I mean, like, it's
no, absolutely.
Idea. Like,
it amplifies you and lifts you up in ways that benefit everybody.
Exactly. And I think that's just wonderful, because you learn something from everyone you meet.
Yes, absolutely.
And then if you end up meeting people who love the same things, you're learning things that are like relevant to where you want to go and where you want to grow.
Yeah, and I think what's nice as well is that, from what you've said, you don't have to be defined by what you do. You might be a lawyer, you might have a certain job. I think quite often people feel quite siloed into your particular job area. But what's nice about your community is that you don't have to have a particularly creative job. It's about your interests, and you can come together and learn from other people that may have those skills and get back into that again and learn more. It's not just you're siloed to one particular community that you work with.
Yeah. Really like. And it's a form of networking that isn't, the intention isn't networking.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key thing. You're not doing it, it's not for a particular goal.
It's just fun.
It's just fun. It's for the journey.
Yeah. it's for the journey.
Yeah. There's no sort of specific end thing that you're trying to obtain. It's the whole process of connecting with other people and having those shared experiences and opportunities, and the rest
is the bonus.
Is the bonus that comes with it.
Yeah. Because that's the thing, we all deepen our understanding, and as we grow in our journeys, it's organic. It's not like we're coming here to do X
and
or
to
Y.
complete this.
Exactly. It's like, let's get together, see what happens, and see what friendships form, see what amazing initiatives form. It's like basically putting all the ingredients together and just seeing what reacts.
Cool. Okay, so we're going to move on to a new section now.
Okay.
The fun section.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean that wasn't fun?
Our hot take section, we're going to throw out some spicy statements, and you can tell us whether you agree, disagree, and why. So the first one is, London has the best arts and culture scene in the world.
Oh, well, I don't know if I can vouch that, because I've only really been to the UK in terms of a big city. But yeah, I think it's a great as a culture scene. And I have friends from different places in the world, and they have said, like, oh, there's so much in London that you can have access to. I think there's such a range, at least for me. I went to university here and I was doing an English degree. So it was the theatres and the museums and the galleries. And there's so much that you can have a gallery on one corner and then theatre very close, and there's so much just packed in that you can absolutely go and see, old things, and then go and see the current plays that are happening and that are new. Yeah. So as a personal viewpoint, yeah, it's a great scene, but I'm not saying anything about
So I'm biased because I was born in London. So I love London. And on top of that, it's one of the few places where so many museums are free. And I think that is such a key component because, in that sense, spatially, but financially, you have that access to these museums, to these amazing works of art. And on top of that, I think that there's this just general idea of stewardship and responsibility over the way in which we ensure that these spaces remain free. Because you'll go to New York and a lot of the museums are quite expensive for people to go to, or even Paris. And London just offers them free. You can just walk in.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And sometimes you can even walk in late at night. So when we did the Taylor Swift songbook trail, that was on a Friday evening.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of access, I think it's wonderful, and it's such a beautiful city. As Katie was saying, there's just so much variety. So, the Romans were here. You have like Roman temples hidden underground if you know where to look for them. You've got stunning remnants of Tudor period aesthetics, and you've also got pop art. You've got everything.
Yeah.
Which is
Sounds
fantastic.
like it is the best.
I know.
I actually work in Covent Garden, and we went to the British Museum. I'd never been there before. And we got there, it's 10 minutes away from where I work.
Yeah.
It's free, which is amazing. And I was like, how have I never been here? The building is stunning. I walked in and you learn so much about the Egyptians. They have a library in there. It's just incredible. I think that is a key component. I think history and art should be free.
Exactly. On that point, it should be free, but it shouldn't be undervalued. For it to be free, the money needs to come in and funnel that. So that's why it's so important to buy at the gift shop and donate, and also for people to give their services, and for us as a country and as cities to value that and ensure that our heritage professionals, our artists, and anyone who works in these spaces are paid adequately.
Yeah.
So that it's accessible as a career for people as well. So yes, I believe wholeheartedly all museums and galleries should be free, but they need
So
to be
long as it's-
funded
Yeah.
properly so that they can survive the test of time.
The next one is experiencing art alone is better than in a group.
Oh,
This is a
wow.
good question.
Depends who you're with.
Yeah.
It depends on the way that you're choosing to experience the art. So if I'm going to a gallery on my own, I'm not wandering past the paintings. I'm going like this, and I'm like, how have they done that brushstroke? And how have they done this? And I'm spending 20 minutes on one painting. And if most people were with me for that, they'd be like, I'm moving to a different room. Bye. So I think if there's somebody with you who is equally into art in that way and they want to study it, and then maybe that's the way I would want to experience it. But I think generally it would be partly dependent on people. So if I'm alone, I'll enjoy it that way, do it my way. But then I think I would enjoy it just as much when I've been with friends and with groups, because I think you get a different experience, you get different perspectives.
I mean, that was such a great answer. I might just say copy paste. One thing that I just wanted to say as well is that there are times where I just really love taking my time with an exhibition. But then at the end of it, I just wish I could talk to someone who's just seen the whole exhibition.
Yeah, someone actually seeing it with you.
Yeah, so it really depends, because I did the medieval women exhibition at the British Library, and it made me cry. It was just so powerful interacting with some of these objects. It was just so moving, and I was like, one thing I wanted to do was to just talk about it with someone who
Yeah.
saw that exhibition
Yeah.
at the end of it. But at the same time, if I went with the wrong person,
You might not
I
have had
wouldn't have
that
been
full
able to
experience.
read everything.
Yeah,
I would feel
that's so
guilty.
true.
Someone would be waiting for me.
Yeah.
So, quick one. You learn more about someone from a cultural outing than from a dinner and drinks.
Well, if you're on a cultural outing, you're seeing how that person interacts with the world and their take on certain things that you're both seeing. So you're able to sort of compare notes of an opinion or a view about that specific thing. Whereas if it's a dinner and a chat, you're able to really connect with that person, but they can share what they like with you, I suppose. So I'd like to think if somebody's very open and honest that you'd get the same result
Yeah.
way. But I think there is really something interesting about when you're going out into the world with somebody and both experiencing something external to see what you notice and what they notice. And I think you can learn a lot about a person because it can be like, oh, I don't like this painting. I really don't like that color orange, you know. Oh, right. Why don't you like that?
Or could we just combine the two and have dinner in
Yeah,
a
dinner.
cultural space?
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
I totally agree. And I think it also depends on the person because different people thrive in different environments.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing with muses. It draws the people who do come alive and feel in touch with their inner child when they are
When they are
doing
fun.
these spaces. So,
Yeah.
whereas some people do really come alive with food culture. So it really depends, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Yinsey, you are a full-time lawyer. You've done a bit of modelling, or you do a lot of modelling actually, on horses and everything,
I
which
do
is
love horses.
amazing. And you're on the British Museum's Advisory Council, and you run Muses. How on earth do you balance it all? Everyone wants to know.
I think it's 3 components. So the first thing is I've just always loved doing lots of artistic things, being part of clubs. And I've been doing that for a long time, whether I was at school, whether I was at university. So it became a habit, just working around things. And I think secondly, just having a really tight schedule and diarizing things. Like for me, arts, creativity, and my personal projects, so essential to my mental well-being. Law is a very stressful job, and having that mental space to come out of a really intense deal or stressful kind of high stakes negotiations, it just refreshes me and it makes me feel less serious about life. I mean, I take all of my creative pursuits quite seriously, but it's a lot of fun. It's at play. I'm at rest. And I think the last thing is I'm very much similar to my father in a way because my dad, he immigrated from Taiwan and he basically worked as in the council, but he also did lots of different things. So he was an ice skater, he exhibited his calligraphy, he was on a radio show, he also created a theatre troupe, and he just did everything. And growing up with a chaotically creative I was like, isn't we're all kind of like. And I think as I grew up, I felt like hiding that a bit because people thought I was a bit weird. But as I've grown up, I've leaned into it and I'm like, no, this doesn't make me a worse lawyer. It makes me a more productive lawyer because I want to get the thing done so I can do the other things. And it's also helped me develop time management and stakeholder management. And it's also influenced all those other skills. If I want to pitch to a magazine to publish a piece of work, I know how to draft a contract. So I can draft a letter of application quite easy for this magazine. And then in terms of things like going in front of a board, I know how to fake that confidence because I'm in front of a camera here and there. And in terms of not getting too scared about a new challenge, I mean, I've been on a horse that decided to bolt through like Egypt. I've done scary things. It's just given me that confidence. So,
And I have never seen anyone as able to connect people as
Oh,
you.
you.
I think it's just like, it should just been coined the Yinsey
Connector.
Connector, yeah. Like whatever it is, it's just you're able to, you're like, here's a thread, here's a thread, here's a thread. And you're just able to, in your way, sort of balance that. And you're able to see that sort of light in other people and sort of bring that
Oh.
to you? So obviously it's something you've practiced at, and it's something that confidence you're saying you're faking it. But I also think you're combining that with what's naturally inside you.
Yeah.
And you've let it become completely amplified without fear of being called weird, because what it ends up being is so beautiful. Like, who cares if it's weird? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Leaning into it. And I
Yeah.
think that's the thing, is that if you do loads of things, and this is the thing that I'd recommend, is that you develop so many different skills and you can relate and be empathetic to so many more people. You know what I mean? Because if you've dabbled in a bit of acting, if you've dabbled in a bit of art, when you meet someone who's passionate about those things, it's a great conversation starter too. So
Opens more channels.
it enriches your life, which is wonderful. So I suppose there's an incentive to do it, because it means I can get so much more out of people and so much more out of life.
I can really relate to that. And one of my other questions was going to be about your multi-passions. I feel like this whole idea of, just going for it and not being afraid to be liked as well. Because when you start doing what you love and embracing all your amazing talents that not everyone has, it's beautiful. And then people will want to work with you even more, and more opportunities happen.
And it gives people permission to do that themselves as well. Instead of, oh, that's weird, it's, oh, wait, I do that. I like that too. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually have a follow-up question though. How do you stop the fear of being judged? What was your advice for someone to just go for it and not care what other people think, especially if you've got a serious job and you want to post about it more online? That?
Yeah, I think that there are a few things. So, firstly, what was really helpful and grounding was when I was younger, I used to hand out leaflets for my mum's business. So, I think I got desensitized to a lot of rejection, which was very integral to me kind of just giving things a go. I think the second thing about the fear of judgment, one of the classic ways in which I started to contextualize it is just think about the people who have done great things and how people are always going to have opinions, and people are entitled to their opinions. It's perfectly valid. But I think the fact is, when you look through history, when you look through arts and culture, when you look through the creative potential of humans, there's just so many ways to do things. And if you think, look, my way might not be other people's way, or the things that I love might not be things that resonate with others, but it's mine. And that's what's worthwhile. And I think as a woman in law, I think that there are challenges in terms of stereotypes and so on. But I think as I become more competent in what I do, I know I do my job well. So I don't need to be defined by those stereotypes. I think there's always a challenge, because you need that sort of respect through the work that you do. And then people just realize that the package you come in is unique, but you're still going to get contract done, you're still gonna smash that deal. So I think that the practical realities are a bit more nuanced, but the actual spiritual soul of being who you are, that's just wonderful, because we all have validity to exist as we wish to.
And I think to zoom in as well, if you've got your core people around you that do validate what you do and going, yeah, go for it, that's what you need. And anything else is just noise.
Yeah, I definitely agree with.
And also, like, Taylor Swift has haters. I don't mind having a hater or two.
So, Katie, between narrating audiobooks, writing a novel, and playing in a band, how do you stay creatively inspired?
I love this question. Well, I think in terms of the creative inspiration side of things, it's more of like a daily thing. It's not necessarily when I'm writing or drumming, whatever. It's the spaces in between. That's when I'm gathering my inspiration. Every day, I'll just look at what's around and I'll go, oh, that color on that building's nice. I'll put that in my brain, right? Okay. And it's collecting little pieces of your day and appreciating what's around you. And I think it's particularly the people around me. It might be something someone says, or just a small interaction that I'll have, and it just makes you think, oh, they would make a really interesting base for a character, or it just might give me a sense of, oh, that was a really nice interaction. And that kind of keys the brain into creativity. I think the more you're looking outside in the world for things that are interesting and sparking connections in your brain, the more ready you are to then create and do things. Because if there's an abundance of visual inspirations, audio inspiration, the more you're able to then put that back out as creativity. And so for me, if it's being with my band, it's very much we'll bounce ideas off each other and go, what do you think of this? Oh yeah, no, I like that, but maybe try it like this. Oh, okay, great. And that's very much a collaborative thing. If it's writing, it's with myself. So I use those pieces in my brain where I've been like, oh, that person was interesting. Maybe I could incorporate them into a character. Or quite often I'll just go for a walk. That'll do it. And suddenly all these ideas are coming to. And then for audiobook, it's me and the author. So I'm having conversations back and forth where I'll say, how's this for a voice? This is what I'm picturing. And then they might go, oh, could you make it slightly more this? And then I do that. And so it's very much that back and forth. So I think constantly bouncing ideas from here to the outside world, whether that's through people or things you see, and that return, you get a momentum going. And that's how the creativity keeps going.
Wow.
Nice, I like that. And can you tell us a bit about the books that you have narrated? So you've narrated audiobooks, and you're also writing your own book. Can you tell us a bit about that?
So the audiobooks I've done at the moment, the first one I did, I had no idea really what I was doing. I've had some drama experience. And then the lovely author, Lena C. Amargo, I sent her a voice note and she went, wait, do you want to record the audiobook? And I went, what? I don't know.
That's
how to do it."
amazing.
And so she said, I'll cover the cost of a microphone. I'll pay you for this. And so I just did the audiobook. I say to people, don't necessarily go to that one if you're wanting to hear what I'm currently doing. But so it's Daughter of the Deep by Lena C. Amargo. So it's a pirate fantasy story. And then I've done the sequel for that one, Sister of the Stars, and I'm currently working on Mother of the Moon. And then I've done one called A Story Spun in Scarlet by Renee Dugan, and that's my most recent one. So that's the one that I tend to direct people to just because I had a better setup for it. So it's been very much a learning process of how do I go from literally being huddled in my dad's study in the evenings trying to record different things to actually having a very advanced blanket fort in my room with a bit of sound foam. And then one I'm currently working on, A Tale Told by Traitors by Renee Dugan. And that one is going to be a bit collaborative. So I've got a few male narrators involved because I was looking at the number of characters and I was like, okay, I've got about 10 characters. And then there were like 20 male characters.
Oh, wow.
And I thought,
Were they getting in the blanket fort?
like 10 people. Yeah, so that'll be the first time that I've ever done an audiobook collaboratively. And
like so
I
much
had
fun.
another one would be The Salt Air by Cassidy Clark.
Wow.
So those will be this year. Very excited.
And what kind of genre of book are you writing yourself?
So myself, I'm writing sci-fi, technically a little bit dystopian, but I've got some fairy tale fantasy elements in it. So it's very much a question of what happens when an AI goes too far, but I'm mixing in an idea of what if you had a circus and museums and things like that, but then they were actually not real and you're going outside of that and seeing what the real world is like. So it's sort of fantasy on the inside and then sci-fi on the outside.
Wow, that sounds
Topical.
incredible.
Yeah, very topical.
I really hope that gets made into a Netflix movie.
So this is our listener dilemma. We've basically asked our followers to give us some dilemmas that they want our guests give their opinion on. So this one is, I used to be really into arts and culture when I was younger, painting, going to galleries, creative writing, but as I got older, life just got in the way. Now I feel like I don't really have any hobbies and I miss that creative outlet. I'd love to get back into it, but I don't know where to start. Any advice?
Yeah, I think this is an exciting place to be. And I think once you get over the nervousness of it, just choose something and hobby hop. Like maybe sign up for a pottery class and sign up for a drawing class, or just go and drop in and sketch, or essentially get a group of friends, like join the Muses, and go and experience something.
I think practically, when life gets in the way, it's realizing how valuable a really short amount of time can be to expanding your creativity, and whether that's writing for 10 minutes a day. Sometimes I'll think, oh, well, that's not a proper writing session, so I'm not going to bother. But the progress I've made, I think, over the course of a week, just doing 10 minutes a day has been more than if I spent an hour in one day kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it does also depend on what type of person you are as well. So if you want to get good at something, and the thing is that that's always a bit of a slippery slope because you might actually discount a hobby because you think, oh, I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
But actually by doing, I mean, there's that old age adage that says practice makes perfect, but I don't think you can get perfection.
I think there have been some things that I've done where I think, oh yeah, I'm really good at that. And then actually, even if you're not good, you get a lot out of it.
Yeah.
And I think your own measure of good might be different from someone else's. And if someone else is saying that you're going out there, you're having a great time, you're having a go, that can be way more valuable than being really good at something.
Yeah, and I think it comes to that point that we were talking about earlier about the fear of judgment. At the end of the day, who are you doing it for?
You only have one life, and there's so many different
Yeah.
things to try and experience. And if you can have a go at art, have a go at horse riding, dancing, and
Yeah.
whatever it is, you're expanding your potential.
So before we wrap up this amazing session, we have a few quick fire questions. Who is your biggest muse?
I'm so lucky to have lots of muses in my life, but Yinsey is a huge inspiration for me. She has been the branch to so many other people who have inspired me. And I think I get inspiration from everybody in my life and everyone around me. But yeah, as Yinsey is here, I will just spotlight how much of an inspiration she is.
I was just about to say my biggest muse are all the muses and all their different characteristics. You guys, I think you can find so much inspiration everywhere.
Yeah, so many people.
What is your favourite creative work?
Well, to touch on what the painting that I mentioned earlier, that is an experiment on a bird in the air pump in the National Gallery, and is by Joseph Wright Darby. And it's just this scene of a scientist with a white cockatiel bird in a bell jar, and he's about to take the air out of the bell jar to show how long it will take for the bird to suffocate. And there's people sat around him, and it's this beautiful sort of shadow, and then you have this light coming from the center emanating on all faces, and you can just see every person's reaction to the bird and whether they care about it, whether they're hiding their face, or the philosopher who's sat there just looking at it and he's seen all this before. And you have a boy in the corner with a moon, and it's just so atmospheric. And that there's something about that painting. Whenever I've gone to it, I think it inspires not only my story, which is about the worlds that we center our worlds around, and the sort of difference between a central point in a world of a life lived compared to everything else happening in the world, but it's also physically the painting style. I'm like, that is my ultimate goal of the sort of painting that I would want to do. So it inspires me so creatively. All my different creative pursuits, I think that is just such a beautiful painting. And I come back to it and I just stare at it. Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about visual arts. I'm going to choose my favorite written piece. So it's Lysistrata by Aristophanes, who was an ancient Greek comedian. And it's about these women who are fed up with the wars that Athenians are getting themselves embroiled with. So they go on a sex strike. And they basically bring peace because of this sex strike. So the men are going nuts. It's hilarious. But it really brings together the idea that women getting together can be quite determinant and make the right decisions for the society. And use whatever power they can to make it happen. One of the funniest things I've read.
I love that.
Okay, so the big question, what do you wish you knew sooner?
Well, I think that there's nothing that I would wish to change about anything because it's up here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think if I could go back and tell my 15-year-old self who was struggling to find her people to say, keep going. It's okay to like these different things. It's okay to be enthusiastic. And you're going to find people who like that too. Because I think particularly around those years, there's so much that can become suppressed and be shunned, and parts of yourself that you feel like you need to hide away. That I think there was then a process of unpicking that and allowing it back out again over the past few years, and realizing that when you found those people, there is that space for it. So I think I wouldn't change anything, but I wish I knew that was possible, because now I'm experiencing it and it's just so much bigger and more uplifting than I could have imagined at that age.
Oh, how do I follow that? I think for me, it's just echoing what I was saying before, which is essentially don't feel as if you don't have value as you are, because we're all so different. And I think before I was talking about how I felt weird. Well, the thing is, human experience is so broad, so long. And people have lived so many different lives. There's no one right way to live your life.
Yeah.
So I think that that's really it, is that your story has never been written.
Yes.
You're writing it now.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
And where can people find you and get involved with the Muses?
Yes. So at the moment, we're invitation only. So unless you pick up a postcard,
You're right.
But sometimes we do also find people follow us on Instagram, or we just feel like their vibe.
Yeah, you can follow us on Instagram.
Yeah, and we might
Muses.
reach out. and
Muses
be
in the
like-
city.
Yeah, Muses in the city. And we sometimes reach out to people as well because we just want to expand a bit slowly. Because I feel like when groups expand too quickly,
Yeah.
people lose momentum. They don't feel as intertwined. We also love connecting with people and having people follow our journey. We've got so many followers in America, which is
wow.
Yeah, so even though they might not be able to be part of
they
the
like
actual
following
events,
along.
it's seeing what we've been up to.
Yeah, and maybe inspire their own like outings and hopefully eventually we will expand in
Yeah.
other cities.
Exactly.
Love
So-
that.
Amazing.
Well, that's it. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave us a review, and follow us on our socials. And if you'd like to get involved in a future episode, let us know. We're always on the lookout for new and inspiring guests.
Yeah. See you next time.